Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I've got one of my best buds, Wolfe,
What's going on, guys?
and we're doing something pretty fun. Now, as you may know, US Nationals is coming up this weekend, and Wolf and I decided we wanted to do a little event preview. We're going to be talking a little bit about the metagame, which players we expect to have strong finishes, and just kind of overall national shenanigans and kind of an overview just for fun. This is, our first time kind of attempting something like this. If you enjoy it, please definitely show your support by leaving a like on the video, and definitely go check out Wolf's channel as well. We don't see too much of these kind of previews, and I think this will be a good overview, even if you're kind of newer to the VGC scene. In addition, there are a couple of links. I'm going to link those in the description below, but it's basically the Pokemon Nationals webpage and the streams, which will be at twitch.tv/Pokemon and twitch.tv/Pokemon VGC. The stream should be going on from Friday to Sunday, so you'll definitely want to keep your eye on those. I think we're going to see some really, really cool stuff on stream this year. So, yeah, anything you want to say, Wolf?
No, absolutely. I mean, I would definitely recommend watching the stream, guys, because this is like one of my favorite events to participate in and then watch back later.
Yeah, definitely. And I had Wolf on this one for kind of our first podcast or whatever you want to call it, just because Wolf and I, are really great friends. We talk about shenanigans all the time, and we've both been to nationals the last couple of years and have had some decent results. So it'd be nice to, feature him. And yeah, we're just gonna go through a kind of list of things we prepared. But I think the first thing we kind of want to talk about, that a lot of players are curious about, is the metagame.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about the metagame, there's one combination of Pokemon that really kind of jumps out at me and I think at a lot of other people, which is Xerneas and Groudon. The Xerneas and Groudon is a combination that has seen like a lot of success throughout the season. It's won multiple nationals, I believe, and I mean, I guess if you count all the nationals, yeah. But yeah, it's done really well. We saw like really strong finishes at winter regionals, where I believe it won every single U.S. winter regional. I'm not positive on that, but it at least did very well. We have that infamous Virginia regionals Twitter picture where it's like 7 of the 8 teams are Big Six variants. And it didn't die down as the season went on. We still saw really strong finishes from Xerneas, Groudon, and spring regionals. Though now we've seen like a little more bulk. So what do you think, Aaron? We didn't see Xerneas Groudon in the finals of Japan Nationals, which surprised some people. What do you think about this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's the archetype to beat, but at the same time, it's really interesting to note that Xerneas Groudon didn't win any of the European Championships or Japanese Nationals, which are, the biggest events. So that's one of the more intriguing facts to me. And I think we were talking about this a little bit earlier before, but one of the best ways to break down, I think, the metagame this year is kind of looking at the legendary combinations. So Xerneas Groudon is always kind of the one to beat because Xerneas is just so strong with the Geomancy. And interesting enough, the Japanese meta, or at the Nationals, we saw Bronzongs to kind of cover all those Xerneases. So I think definitely we're going to see a fair share of Xerneas Groudon. The question is, are they going to be able to propel it all the way to the top? Because we've seen so many players kind of prepare against it, whether it's using Roar on a Pokemon, even like Groudon, which is interesting, or Red Card, which we've seen a little bit more of. So, two things to look out for. That definitely stops Xerneas pretty hard, but in a best of 3 setting, and we did forget to mention that Nationals is best of 3. For those wondering about the format, it's a 3-day event, so if you win 7 of your 9 games on the first day, you move on to the second day. If you win, it should be 4 of your 6 rounds, then you move on to the top cut single elimination bracket, and it's all best of 3, so probably the most ideal tournament we've ever seen in terms of format, and the prizes are pretty solid as well. It's money, cash prizes, and it's like 5,000 for first, 3,500 for second, I think like 1,500 for third and fourth, and then I want to say like 700 and 500 for top.
Yeah,
top
I'm not
16.
positive, but it's definitely like it's a good bit of money, especially at like the higher you get.
Yeah, exactly. So a little sidetrack there, but we wanted to mention that earlier, just so you guys really have a picture of, and it should be around like 300 plus masters, a steep drop from the 400 last year, but still definitely going to be a really tough competition. So yeah, really looking forward to it. And Xerneas Groudon, I think the combination to beat, but also interesting. The question is it finally going to be able to take one of the main kind of national championships in terms of attendance? Obviously, Japanese Nats a little bit smaller, but that one being invite only, super restrictive. But I mean, I think obviously at least, I would say maybe 35-50% of the field is going to be having Xerneas Groudon as their duo. Wouldn't be surprised to see that statistic. The question is, can they take it to the top?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really like wise observation.
Yeah. So Moving on, I think the next core that's really interesting is Kyogre Groudon or Dual Primals. We've seen Poke Alex actually win one of the European Nationals with it. It's been a bunch of notable North American players. Chuppa Cross being one of them, having top cut 3 different regionals with it. It's a really strong combination, but recently we've seen more Cresselia on the kind of Big Six Xerneas Groudon combinations, and Cresselia definitely gives the Dual Primal teams. I mean, it's an interesting matchup because then it's like Cresselia versus Cresselia, but typically Xerneas, can do pretty well if you can eliminate the Groudon from those teams. So I don't know. I mean, like, we're definitely going to see Dual Primals, obviously, but do you think we'll see any kind of unique techs to support those Dual Primals?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, the thing about Dual Primals is when at first, like, you and Alex were some of the first people to use Dual Primals, and when you guys were first using it, it was like, wow, like, Dual Primal shuts down Big Six, like, it beats Big Six, and that was kind of the common consensus. And now as the Big Six team, which was just 6 like standard Pokemon, has kind of become bulkier, and they've added a Trick Room mode to it, and there's a lot more variations. Now it kind of feels like the general consensus is that Xerneas Groudon teams beat Dual Primals, whereas before it was the reverse. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised at all to see like some neat techs and turning like the Dual Primal matchup back in the Dual Primal's favor more consistently, at least, because like the thing is, Kyogre and Groudon are just so strong, and the ability to shut down your opponent's weather is really, really valuable right now. So I really wouldn't be surprised at all to see Dual Primals having resurgence. We like Chuppa Cross, really strong player, and he did end up winning the Nugget Bridge Major using, I think, primarily, or if not entirely, a Dual Primals team. So it definitely has potential, because that was entirely 2 out of 3 as well. So I definitely think Dual Primals is a team that has potential, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it have strong finishes. Like, in terms of archetypes, I would expect Xerneas Groudon as the biggest one, and then probably Dual Primals behind that.
Yeah, definitely. I think those are kind of the front runners for the top ones. So, they've established themselves as the front runners of the format. But as the metas develop, we've definitely seen some interesting things. Each nationals, we see some players use either new legendary duels or techs. Poke Alex kind of introduced this one new thing to the Dual Primals, which was the Icy Wind Thunder Wave Cresselia, which really completely shook up the meta. So that was really cool. But
absolutely.
Moving on a little bit from the probably 2 most popular combinations, we did see Arash Omadi win the national championships, one of the European national championships, with Evoltol Groudon, and that's a combination that we don't see as often, but obviously is very strong. I know Arash really loved it, and it's a great kind of anti-meta pick. The way I look at it, Yveltal is such a strong Pokemon, but being weak to Xerneas is obviously an issue. Being that Xerneas is so common. But if you can check that Xerneas, then that combination obviously fares really well. And we did see Arash actually throw on a Jump Off on his winning Nationals team to great success, which really helps out in the Big Six matchup. So wouldn't be surprised to see more Yveltal Groudons. I believe Yveltal Groudon also made the finals. They got second at Japanese Nats, although
that's right, yeah.
As opposed to the Life Orb kind of max attack, max speed variant Arash had, the Japanese variant was a little bit bulkier. I believe it was Assault Vest with Snarl and Oblivion Wing, which I think is actually really strong because the matchup against Kyogre just helps out so much.
Yeah, I think Yveltal's a Pokemon that people kind of wrote off at first because there was so much Xerneas, but with Xerneas kind of starting to get checked a little bit more and Dual Primals also picking up in steam toward the middle of the season, I definitely think Yveltal is underrated and super threatening.
Absolutely. So, that's something we're going to want to keep our eyes out for as well, because it's definitely, I think, it's harder to play with, right? You have to be super careful. You have to think twice about bringing it even against Xerneas teams at all if the matchup really isn't in your favor. But, Arash had the Jump Off, which was such a good tech against Xerneas, so it would not be surprised, obviously, to see more Yveltal Groudon, since it does fare pretty well, especially against those Bronzons and Cresselias that we've seen so much of recently.
Absolutely, yeah. Yveltal's a really threatening Pokemon to Psychics.
Yeah. I think the next 2 combinations I kind of want to mention are ones that we haven't seen too much of, but I think definitely will have a profound impact under the hands of a right player. The first one is the Rayquaza Groudon combination, which I was using a little bit earlier on Road to Ranked because Enosh got second at Mass Regionals, I believe, with it.
That's right.
He was using Isolvez Rayquaza, Mega Rayquaza with Special Groudon and Eruption, and then we actually saw Rayquaza Groudon win Japanese Nationals, which was pretty shocking, honestly, given the amount of Xerneas Groudon combinations there. So that was really interesting to see, and you don't think it's that strong inherently because typically Rayquaza makes sense to pair it up with a water type Pokemon, but it's just fast eruptions from a Groudon is super powerful, and that combination is it hits so hard.
Yeah, Rayquaza Groudon's a combination that I definitely didn't understand it at first because it kind of seems counterintuitive, right?
Exactly.
You're okay, Groudon isn't as strong, especially, but Eruption is really strong, but it's not that strong if you take away the weather, right? But Rayquaza is just its strong physical attack, its ability to kind of have priority with extreme speed, its ability to deal with Kyogre a little bit better than Groudon and some other stuff as well. Makes it like it does make it an interesting combination. I won't claim to understand the combination like as well as like maybe I should going into nationals, but it's really cool. And I assume the other combination you want to talk about is Rayogre, right?
Oh, I actually forgot Rhaegar. That was something that
Yeah.
in my mind.
I
That
was
one,
like-
and then Rayquaza Xerneas as well.
That's right. We got lots of Rayquaza coming up. So Rayogre is a team that saw some success earlier in the season, and it's been pretty consistent throughout. I would say I could be wrong here, but I think it's Xerneas Groudon number 1, Dual Primals number 2, Rayogre number 3 actually in terms
Yeah.
of usage.
Yeah.
Because the combination of Rayquaza and Kyogre players really well together. Using Rayquaza to allow Kyogre to attack its Sun, using its Airlock or Delta Stream is really threatening because a lot of teams rely on Groudon to kind of check Kyogre's like weather and its strong water types attack. So I think Rayogre is super threatening. Honestly, I think it's like a really scary team. We've seen some cool variations with Choice Scarf Kyogre, which is like kind of cool. It hits really hard and fast, but it's also super threatening. So yeah, I would not be surprised at all to see Rayogre. Like I feel like a good Rayogre player could definitely take a team deep if they tech well for like Xerneas and Groudon and some of the other things that give Rayogre trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it did win the Italy National Championships, which was really
Right.
cool to see. That team had some pretty cool techs. I believe Mienshao was on that. We've seen Rayogres with, like, Manectrix, which is pretty unique. We see Osiris with his Togekiss, I believe, that was on his team. Really unique
right.
as well. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of just skipped over that by accident. But Rayogre, I think the way a lot of people kind of describe it is, like, you're flipping coins every turn, but if you can play perfectly, like, it's probably the best, team to propel you, but it's so hard to play so perfectly in this format.
It's really hard to play, yeah.
The pressure against Groudon, which is obviously so common. I mean, I believe all the Japanese top 8 teams had a Groudon. Not
That's right.
surprising. It's just so strong. Whereas Kyogre is very good too, but a little bit more difficult to use. But the last combination that's really interesting is Rayquaza Xerneas, which you can probably talk a little bit about since Marcus, one of the top German players, recently won a big money tournament over in Germany with it.
Big money, that's right. Yeah, X-Ray it's a combination that like at first I didn't understand at all. It was another one like Ray Groudon that I was just like, what? Like I have no idea what's going on. But it actually is really threatening. The thing is like there's so many ways of playing it. And I know that Notch has actually been testing X-Ray Law. He's been using it on ladder, and I'm sure some other players have been using it as well. And that's definitely a team that I feel like is underrated, but it has the potential to go really far. It uses like Xerneas' ability to set up and sweep like really well. It relies a lot on supporting the Xerneas, but also like after Xerneas is kind of put in work early game, they have the option of this late game Rayquaza with its ability to like totally ignore weather and use really strong Dragon Ascent, because Dragon Ascent's so strong and also threaten things with extreme speed priority. All the while you have like the teams that I've seen doing well with X-Ray have been using like a lot of support Pokemon like Amoonguss to kind of redirect and protect the restricted Pokemon. So it's a super threatening combination. I don't know the matchups that well. I played some games with Marcus. I got wrecked, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's a really threatening combination. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go far. I think it's another one that's like pretty tough to play though.
Definitely. I think historically U.S. Nationals players tend to go with things that they feel relatively safe with. We don't see too much innovation in terms of the metagame, but given that 2016 is when like if you can come up with that tech, you can propel you just that far. A Rosh adding Jump Fluff. I mean, I know he said he didn't like Jump Fluff very much, but it did help obviously against certain matchups.
Yeah.
So those tech Pokemon can be really interesting. And just a quick summary for some random stuff that we've seen recently. Can you think of any big meta things that have come out of regionals or nationals?
Well, I mean, Poke Alex's Crest you mentioned earlier, but that was really huge, I think.
Yeah.
Like the switch to, I don't know why we didn't think of it earlier. I guess like it didn't like make much sense to us because we were dumb or whatever. But yeah, like IZ1 Thunderwave Cresselia really shook up the metagame. We've seen a lot of shift towards bulkier Xerneas, I've noticed.
So
At
bulky.
first,
I
it's
know
all
you use the
so
bull Xerneas.
bulky. Dude, yeah, I was bold all over the place. Like nobody could touch my deer.
It's crazy. Yeah, no, like it's so bulky now, which makes sense, right? Like if you're getting the boost anyway, like you're gonna be so strong,
you're
so
already,
might as
like,
well survive.
Everybody, yeah. We've also seen like Crafty Shield Smeargle. Actually, Smeargle's a Pokemon that's really interesting because it's like I feel like at the beginning of the season everyone was like, okay, Smeargle, you get Spiky Shield, you get Dark Void, you get Follow Me, you get one more. But now everyone's like, I don't need protecting moves on my Smeargle. People are like, I don't need I think I saw Lum Smeargle. At
Yeah,
Japanese
Lum did well at nationals in Japan.
Yeah, we've seen Mental Herb Smeargle picking up. We've seen King Shield Smeargle, which is something that seems like totally counterintuitive, but actually is like really threatening.
Right.
That's like a good example of like just like a Pokemon that can go like a lot of ways. But in terms of like off meta Pokemon, I can't think of that many. Like we've seen like the Mienshao won, right? It wasn't the
It
second
did
place
win.
team.
We saw some Hitmontop, regular Kyogre,
Right.
Togekiss, Manectric.
Ditto.
Ditto,
actually
yes, ditto. Amanda Buzz at one of the nationals
Amanda
in Europe.
Baz.
Alatios, Pikachu in Singapore, level 27 Pikachu, like got top 4,
That's right.
which is
And
crazy.
I think Frey Dilly just got second at nationals in, I believe it was Peru.
Peru,
but don't
yes.
Yeah, and I saw Seismitoad in there and a bunch
and
of other.
Jellison.
And a Jellison, that's right. Dude, I was running. I'm so sorry. Really quick, when I saw the Cradilly, I ran Calx on the leap. It does like 80% at +1 with Grass Knot to Kyogre.
Oh
so
my
I'm
gosh.
taking the leap team again. That's the meta call, guys. If you don't know what to use the leap. It's really strong.
What's your okay? Well, I mean, yeah, that is the list of probably the top legendary duels we'd expect to see. But obviously, there's some sleeper Pokemon like Palkia, Dialga, Kyurem White, regular Kyogre that definitely have some potential. And
absolutely,
you can see that paired with any of the previous kind of cores. But what do you think is going to take it all, or what do you expect to see do very well?
Dude, I definitely think we're going to see Xerneas Groudon just because. So Xerneas Groudon didn't do that well at Japanese nationals, but the field was so small, So I think that kind of confounds it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it still ended up like every other team in top 8, like 6 of the teams. Yeah. Like it just didn't make the finals, but everything else was Xerneas Groudon.
So I would definitely, and I feel like so many players in the U.S. are using Xerneas Groudon. I mean, I don't know that for a fact. I don't know what people are going to bring, but I would expect so many players in the U.S. to bring Xerneas Groudon to nationals that someone has to go deep with it, right? It's already such a threatening team, Like we've seen Paul Chua just like blow through everybody with his Xerneas Groudon. Like, and like when you ask him, he's like, Paul, how did you do so well? He's like, oh, I just got lucky and won speed ties, and you're like, no, that's not, that can't be how you're doing this. So yeah, I definitely expect Xerneas Groudon to go deep. I wouldn't be surprised to see dual primals or Ray Ogre either, and I definitely feel like X-Ray and Yveltal, maybe not Yveltal Groudon, but some kind of Yveltal team. Dude, I hate XY team. If anyone brings XY, I'm gonna be so upset with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting because, like I said, Nats, it's typically like people sticking with what they're comfortable with, but every year we see like 2 or 3 top players just bring something completely crazy. So I'm really excited to see which players end up bringing that, like really rare legendary duel and does really well. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with your analysis there. And yeah, so you guys should keep your eyes open for that. I think the meta's kind of shifted in the sense that the Xerneas teams especially, people are playing so carefully and protecting it so well now. So we've seen Clefairy become such a common partner with the Friend Guard and Intimidate from Men's. We've seen Raichus. In general, I think like Reflect is an underrated move that we might see more of as well. So all things to kind of consider. But yeah, I mean, I guess like moving on a little bit from the meta and shifting more towards kind of players that we kind of expect to do well. Every year going into nationals, you have championship points from the regionals and the premier challenges that you go to, and I'll link the current standings below. Wolf's way up there. I'm a scrub, and I'm pretty low this season, but we've got a really solid list in general, and we kind of I wish we had time to talk about everyone, but the way I see it, every year at nationals, there's such a big field, or at any tournament, there's a big field, but at the end of the day, despite kind of how variable Pokemon is in RNG, there's like 15 to 20 people I probably have on a list that I could realistically expect to win, and like I don't know which one of those people it's going to be. It's whoever's going to get the best matchup, plays the best, gets a little bit lucky, etc. But for me, there's always like kind of a set number. So just some people I can think off the top of my head on that list. Definitely you. Toller, last year's winner and the winner of the Georgia Regional Championships.
Yeah, Toller's a really threatening one, I think.
Yeah, Chupacross, who's probably the one of the most improved players, and he's top cut 3 different regionals this year in 2016. A phenomenal player, won the Nugget Bridge Major.
Just no speed.
Yeah. Riley Factura, who won the Utah Regionals, has been a top player in SoCal and got top 32 at Worlds last year. Gavin Michaels, who won the National Championships back in 2013. Nikolai Zelensky, who won Worlds and Seniors back in 2014. Yeah, those are just a couple. I'm definitely missing so many. Paul Chua, obviously.
You gotta mention Anash, dude. Like, the way that I think about it is, in my head, like, when you go to the pairings board and you say, okay, Wolf Click, and you're probably the same. Like, it's easy to find my name because I'm always at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm at the top.
My first name. Yeah, you're at the top. Like, in my head, I have, like, a list of people who, like people are, like, in tiers, right? So if I go up against, like, top tiers, like, Aaron Zhang, and I'm like, oh, no. Or, like Sejun or like Marcus, and I'm like, oh, please, like, someone have mercy. And for me, Anash is in there. Anash is so scary. Like, because Anash, like, he's so confident in his, like, in himself and in his play and in, like, what he does that, like, he's not afraid to do stuff that's like off meta, and that can be really hard to play against. And he's already such a good like team builder. I don't know. I just think Anash is like super threatening. I would not be surprised to see him go deep. And I also echo like I think Anash could go deep. I think Kevin Michaels could go really deep. He's like super consistent, and yeah, he always does well. Do you have any sleeper picks like for players that you expect to kind of go like who go under the radar, but you expect to do well? I think Riley kind of like falls into that category, but.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who knows Riley or has played him knows how good he is, but a couple that I can think of, Patrick Smith from California, who's had a phenomenal season, one of the biggest breakout seasons we've ever seen, winning one of the regionals, it was, I believe, Arizona, and then getting second at SoCal. It's literally his like first real season playing competitively, and he's so high up on CP's top 8 right now in North America.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah, him, Alec Rubin, who was the 4th best North American player last year with the 4-3 record at Worlds, has put together quite the season as well. I mean, if you just look at the CP like board, there's just so many good players. Kamal Harris, a really, really big one who's been one of the best players in VGC for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to throw in my boys, Treycraft and Grant Velocity. Sorry, Dwabblefett and Velocity, who are both Holy Spirits. But I've been really, really impressed with their play. Like those are players who like I really respect just as players, and they don't have like a ton of strong tournament results just yet, but I really think they have the potential to. So I definitely could see them going deep. And yeah, just because we talk about these players, like honestly, Nationals is like a tournament where actually anybody could do well. You know, it's like before, like for like my first Nationals, I was like pretty much a nobody, and like I did well there. So it was like
he won. Spoilers.
Spoilers. Yeah. So I don't know. Even though we might not be talking about you, like please take this as an opportunity to prove us wrong and make a name for yourself, because that happens at Nationals. Dreams come true.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like this format is the national structure is just so darn good.
It's so good, dude. I love Nationals.
Yeah, like I'm looking at the championship points list right now. We've got a couple of players who went abroad to a bunch of different nationals. Jonathan Evans, James Eek, Paul Chua, Wolfe, yourself obviously, Dan Livingston. We mentioned Patrick, Ashton Cox. We mentioned Alec Rubin, Thomas Nishimura, who's also a very underrated player that players probably don't know very much about, but he's the little brother of Kimo, who's been a player for a long time. Thomas is actually one of the few only first-year Masters on this list that I'm looking at right now. So he won a regionals in spring and then got second like a week later, which is insane, using dual primals and Icy Wind on Kyogre, which is actually a pretty cool tech move.
Yeah, that's just confusing, dude. If I see Icy Wind Kyogre, I just have to like roll over in my chair a couple times because I don't know what's going on.
Going down this list, I mean, literally anyone on this top 25 list I could realistically see winning, really. But Ian McLaughlin, who's had really crazy good seasons in juniors and seniors and won a Master Regional Championship this year. Passed Trup on Riley already. Pedon's Patrick Donegan, who was able to secure a top 16 spot. And Wolf and I actually forgot to mention, but the top 8 players from championship points after Nationals will get an invite and a free trip to Day 2 of Worlds. For those that don't know, the World structure this year is all best of 3. If you make it through Day 1, meaning you can only lose twice, you automatically advance to Day 2. If you make it through Day 2, meaning you can only lose twice once again, you make it to the final single elimination bracket. But the difference is Worlds is going to be by far the largest this year, so you should expect maybe 8 to 9 rounds. So no one wants to play Day 1. Everyone wants to make Day 2, but the championship points are so close this year in the structure that even players at the top like you and Paul probably need like a top 16, maybe top 32 finish, which is super stressful, I would think.
Oh yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on everybody, but it's on the other hand, like I've always kind of felt that you should be doing well at Nationals if you want to go to Worlds. Like that's just a personal opinion, but yeah, I don't know. The pressure isn't necessarily a bad thing. And real quick before we move on from players, I do feel like we have to shout out the Boiler Room because we haven't talked about many other players, but players like Blake and Colin Hire are like really strong players, and though they haven't had like huge breakout, like really big seasons this season, I definitely feel like some of these old school players like Tristan Medine and Matt Coyle, like those are all players who've done well in the past are also players I think who could like really like have another really strong performance,
Definitely. I think some other more sleeper picks, Joshua Lorsey from New York, who's been so good this season, really been able to perform very well. Aaron on Reality Trailer, who's just a couple points short of his Worlds invite, but one of our good buds, and I'm definitely rooting for him. Tiago Maltez, who's actually I think like top 32 in championship points, who's put quite a phenomenal season himself as well, and he's really been working hard for it. And there's just so many good players. Like I'm looking through the list, I really want to talk about everyone. Mike Zaleski is a previous national champion. He's over 400 championship points as well.
Billa's a national champion.
Chris Danzo actually one player.
I was gonna mention it, but I didn't want to drag this on. But yeah, I really liked Chris's spring regionals team, where the one he used versus Ashton. That was like that was such a cool team. It was so defensive and so bulky and really cool.
Yeah, and once again, like we don't want to make this too long, so we don't have time to talk about everyone. But
yes,
I mean, like if you look at the top 8 last year, I thought that was one of the strongest top cuts in like VGC ever. And obviously, I'm a little bit biased since we were both in it, but Polar and Rafa. Rafa was the real kind of sleeper pick. No one expected him in that top 8.
And Lexicon.
And Lexicon, yeah, both of those guys, like. If you knew who they were, you probably knew just how good they were, that they were, like, national champion quality. But for most players in the scene, they were new to the scene. And this is Rafa, who got second, and Alex Underhill, who was top 8, also in the top 25 at championship points right now. So also big names you should look out for. But yeah, I mean, last year's top 8 was so good. I think this year's, will be equally as strong just because the format of the tournament's so awesome.
Yeah, hopefully we can have a few repeat top cuts in there, right?
Definitely. Would be fun to see. Hayden McTavish, also a previous world champion who was in that top 8, which was really cool to see.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so the narratives and the storylines will be interesting. And I'm really excited since we've got a lot of previous national and world champions competing in this one. Cameron Jahadi being an ex-senior national champion as well.
We have some strong performances too with Cams.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's just so many good players we've mentioned, but who's your pick to win, Wolf?
Ooh, dude, don't make me do this. Don't make me do this. I'll pass.
Yeah, okay, we're not gonna answer this question because it's stupid.
Yeah.
But honestly, yeah, I think like it's impossible to ever predict a Nats winner. Like you can probably predict someone who, I don't know, your prediction. There are a couple safe predictions that most likely will be in day 2, if not in the top, cup bracket, which is going to be a little bit bigger this year, but it's really impossible to pick a winner. But honestly, yeah, sorry if we weren't able to list your name. We were just kind of going off the top of our heads. There's so many good players that definitely deserve a mention. And please, we want you to, make yourself that kind of player to, establish that name and that credibility by a huge.
Make us talk about you if we do this for Worlds. Honestly, prove us wrong.
And so that's going to be super exciting. I'm just so excited for the narratives and the storylines and who ends up getting day 2, etc. But
I'm actually getting so excited just talking about this.
It's hype,
I feel my stomach, dude.
I know one thing that you and I actually wanted to talk a little bit about kind of caters to players who might be a little bit newer to nationals.
That's right.
You're not a veteran. Like Wolf and I have played at nationals the last 6 years. I played from 2010 to 2015. And Wolf's been 2011 and 2015. So we've been doing this for a long time. But what's your advice? This year's format is so long. Like I played 42 games between day 1, day 2, and Top Cut last year, and
that was right. Oh my gosh.
That was like more than double of any other Pokemon tournament I've ever played in. So, what would you say to a new player? How do you make it through day 1? How do you deal with defeat? Like, what's your advice to someone who wants to get Top Cut or get their Worlds invite? Spill it out there. What's your secret?
That's a great question, and there's so much I can talk about, but I'll try and keep it concise.
Right.
I think the big thing here is kind of just managing yourself, looking after. So for nationals, there's it's not just about playing Pokemon, right? It's very different to sit in your house and play on Battle Spot or play on Showdown than to actually be at nationals and to actually be playing there and to be sitting across the table from the person and knowing that only one of you can move on. It's a totally different environment. So if you're kind of newer to this, you have to be able to first of all handle the pressure of competition, because let's be real, especially when you're at X2 and 6-2 and you're one game away from Top Cut or elimination, there's a lot of pressure. And with so much on the line and so many people so close to qualifying for Worlds or whatever your goal is, there is a lot of pressure. So you need to, what I always find personally helpful, just some stuff that I do, and you guys, feel free to do this yourself. I don't know if it helps me. Leading up to nationals, I try and not only do Pokemon. Obviously, I'm working, so I can't only do Pokemon. But, for example, I've been running every single day for the past 2 weeks. I missed 2 days because I went and saw a friend. But yeah, I just find that running helps me because it gives me, exercise, which is really good. I honestly think exercise is, awesome. If you're not a runner, you can do other exercise or whatever you want. And I've been trying to watch my diet as well, because sometimes I just kind of don't pay attention to what I eat, but I'm okay, Wolf, let's cut out some sugar, I'm not even sure if
he's lying to you. Before this podcast, Wolf was I had so
much
food.
Okay, I ate a lot of food, but it was whole. Okay, so I made. Okay, can I tell the story? Can I tell them about the spaghetti?
Yeah, tell it. We have time.
Okay.
We'll make this 40 minutes. It should be good.
Okay, so I made some spaghetti. And I was okay, this is my dinner. I'm gonna eat the spaghetti, and I ate some spaghetti. But the problem was, I took the spaghetti out of the colander and I put it in my bowl and I ate it, and then it was in my stomach. But when I looked back, I was gonna go put the rest of the spaghetti away because I had enough spaghetti and I was ready to put the spaghetti away. There wasn't enough left that I could justify putting it away in the fridge because Because then it wasn't like enough for another meal, and then I'd have like some spaghetti, and I'd have to make more. So I was like, all right, Wolf, like you're just gonna have to take the L. So I ate the rest of the spaghetti, and then I got in the call with Aaron, and I was like, Aaron, dude, like I am so full, like I'm never gonna eat again. So I don't recommend that for nationals. But yeah, just like stuff like that. Even like I don't even know if this stuff helps, but just kind of like doing something to kind of say I am taking this tournament seriously. I'm like trying to take care of myself. Like I think it kind of helps you like get in the right mindset, you know?
Definitely. I know a couple of other things that I would personally add. I'm sure you do this too. Like, I know you do this actually. Just like keeping hydrated throughout the day, having energy. That's a big one. Definitely be prepared. I think confidence is really important. Like every tournament I've won or done well in, I've went into thinking, okay, I feel really good about my chances of winning this, even if I don't. Like, sure, Pokemon's Pokemon, but at least I've done everything I can to prepare for this event. So, I mean, it's a little bit late, I guess, to be saying that, but there's still a couple of days. Feel confident about your team choice. Just go into it with the mindset like, okay, I'm going to do the best I can. Remember that it's a best of 3 tournament, so it's not about winning the first game or just winning the second game. It's about winning 2 of the 3 games. So don't go into the false mindset. And I still do this sometimes. I win the first game, and I'm like, okay, now I'm just 1 game away.
Yeah,
But
I know. I do that too. I'm like, I got 2 games to win, and then I lose 2 games, and
yeah,
I'm like,
it's the easiest pitfall to fall into. And if you lose that first game, don't get discouraged. Like a lot of the times, if you can bounce back and win that second game, suddenly the momentum is in your favor because you were just able to recover. So, remember that this is best of 3 and it's a complete different mindset. Don't let hacks tilt you too much. If you feel like, wow, I should have won that last game, that was such garbage. Like, don't let that affect your next game because it's already done. There's nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can do at this point is try and win your upcoming games. So that's what I would say. Something I like to do too is it's easy to get distracted with so many people around. And I'm not saying don't be social because these events are the best to hang out with people. But a lot of the times if I have a rough loss, I'll go isolate myself, listen to some music, and look over my notes to see what I did right and what I did wrong. So I think reviewing your wins and your losses, like even after the first round, after the second round, just think about how you're playing, how your team is really going, and what you could be doing better. Like sometimes it's small mental things, small mistakes that you're making with your play that you could easily improve round from round. So treat each individual round separately. If your goal is to make day 2, remember your goal is to just win games. So yeah, that's some quick advice I'd probably give out. And at the end of day, have fun. Like there's obviously Worlds invites in day 2 on the line, but Pokemon at the end of day shouldn't be that stressful. And this tournament is going to be stressful for a lot of you guys, but remember to have fun and make the most out of it. You're going to be playing a lot of top quality players. Chances are given how good the field is this year. So just remember to have a good time.
yeah, absolutely. And just keep in mind, like if you love Pokemon and like this nationals, even if you don't do well, is such a good learning experience. Like getting the experience in best of 3, getting practice against great players, like that's so valuable. And if you think of Pokemon and like competitive Pokemon as a more like holistic thing, you're like, okay, like maybe I don't do this well at nationals this year, but like what can I learn from it so that next year, like in my upcoming tournaments, at worlds or regionals or nationals next year, like what can I learn from this, and just kind of like trying like treating it as a learning experience, especially if you're new.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's so much we could talk about, but I think we've covered the main gist, kind of meta things, players, and then kind of general advice. Obviously, like, I wish we could talk about all these things more in depth because we could offer, like, all this great analysis and whatnot. But in general, I think it's going to be a really exciting tournament because, the American metagame typically looks off what we've seen in all the other tournaments, and it's one of the last nationals, if not the last one. So there's going to be a lot of inspiration drawn from Europe, all the European tournaments, and Europe's player pool is super deep this year. And
so deep.
Like, the players that made day 2, like, I don't know, I think, like, Europe has a very good chance of winning the World Championships this year, and I'm really excited to see how America kind of builds off that. Excited to see, how our creative team builders typically, I know yourself, Enosh, like you mentioned, who was one of the first American players after John Hu to pioneer Rayquaza Groudon, which was really exciting to see.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you're turned off by VGC 2016, like, dude, we get it, but definitely you should still tune out and watch the streams because the European stream showed a lot of cool stuff, and we had some of the top best of 3 sets in VGC 2016 that we've ever seen. So I'm expecting a lot of great stuff from the American Nationals. And once again, those stream links are twitch.tv/Pokemon and twitch.tv/PokemonVGC. Stream coverage will begin on Friday and that goes all the way until Sunday. And then, I mean, one other interesting thing to talk about since we don't get to show as much love is for the other divisions. I honestly am not following seniors or juniors too much, but do you have any insight on those?
I don't, but I would like to say, like, I definitely think, like, we've seen in the past, so many of our top Masters players have come from seniors, like, you're one of them, Paul Chua, who won Nationals in 2013 and now is tearing us all up in 2016, like, I think seniors are a really great like place to look, and I think they often get like looked down on, and sometimes people like are kind of like, oh, it's seniors, like we don't have to pay any attention. But I remember like just as like a personal anecdote, really quick, like last year I remember seeing Scrafty in the finals of seniors nationals. I don't remember exactly like much context. It might have only been top four, but I was like, this guy's using Scrafty, and I really like Scrafty. Like maybe I can use Scrafty, and I actually drew like the confidence to use like Scrafty because like he wasn't like super known to be like doing super well that season from like seniors. I was like Rafa got second with Scrafty, and this someone in seniors did well with Scrafty as well. He might have won. He would have won nationals. I don't really remember, but yeah, I don't know. I think seniors is often like written off, but there's so much potential in the players there, and there's also some really cool ideas that just kind of get discounted because they're seniors. But yeah, I would not be writing off seniors. It's still equally as cool to follow, and it's cool also to follow players like when they're younger, so you can see that transition. So I don't know anything about juniors. Juniors same thing, but yeah, I don't know. I enjoy watching the seniors matches as well. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I know Wolf and I, because we're so bad and we get eliminated before we
Dude,
make
we're
it
so
to the
bad.
finals.
Yeah,
We're hanging out with our boy Ray Rizzo in the crowd.
Yeah,
we're
dude,
cheering
Ray
on,
Rizzo,
and
are.
honestly, juniors and seniors finals are hype, man.
Dude, they're so hype. We got some good pictures too.
We did, yeah. 2013 junior finals between Bo Berg and Meili Hornak was actually really cool.
That was phenomenal. I remember that, dude.
Yeah,
I
Meili was like using more of an autopilot team that her brother Paul, one of the best players earlier on. Not Paul Chua, but Paul Hornak, one of the best players in VGC earlier on, built for her, and it was more of an autopilot team. And she beat Bo in game one, and then Bo, who is this like a junior who hadn't had any help, no older sibling, which is rare to see. He figured out a strategy. He adapted so well, and it's cool to analyze the fundamentals of the game, which a lot of the times we actually get to see in juniors and seniors. And that was the more exciting finals. I mean, sometimes they make plays that make you scratch your head, but I'm excited, and they get some love too that they're going to be on stream as well. So there's few specific names I could really mention. Obviously, I'm going to be rooting for my little brother Brendan in seniors. Right. But seniors field is definitely really deep this year. I think the top players could easily hold themselves against masters. So I'm really excited. And if you're a senior and you want to prove yourself, like this is the chance. You're going to be in front of the whole country fighting for glory.
Show us something good, guys. Let's do it.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that about wraps up this. It was kind of a more casual, fun thing, and we hope you maybe took away a little bit something from it. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to cover things, and I know, like, players who might be very involved in the scene, this might be just rehashing information, but Wolf and I definitely want to do more of these, whether it's just fun stuff or story time with Wolf or whatever.
I would love that, too.
But yeah, we definitely appreciate any of your feedback. We don't want to keep this too long, so keeping it under 40 minutes, I think, is okay. It's like an episode of Road to Ranked plus a little bit more, but
that's right.
We hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please go check out Wolf's YouTube channel. He's almost at 10K subscribers, which is freaking awesome. That's in the description below. Do you have anything else about Nats you want to say, Wolf?
I have to ask, dude, is a hot dog a sandwich?
That was a question from 2013 Masters National Champion, Gavin Michaels. Gavin Michaels, no, a hot dog is not a sandwich. You're insane. That is my answer.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. Wolf and I obviously both won Nats in 2011 and 2012, although Wolf won in the big boy division. I was in seniors.
No, please.
But we were both in top 8 last year, so we hope this offered at least some insight. I think the advice section was probably a little bit more insightful for anyone who might be trying to do well in Nats. Really to rehash, mentality is a big thing. Look to have a good time, but also be confident in your play. Choose a team that you're confident in, honestly, because you're going to be playing a lot of games, probably the most games you've ever played in a tournament. So be prepared, and yeah, just have a good time. Go say hi to your favorite players; they'll be all there. And good luck to everyone. I'm really excited to see how this tournament goes out, and really excited to see who's being crowned as the new national champion. Since we've had some really good national champions in the past. You, Gavin, Agloza, that was really cool to see, and obviously Toller, previous war champion, winning Nats last year.
That's right.
All right. Anything else?
Nah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. And thanks to Aaron for having me. This is actually so much fun.
You suck, Wolf.
You suck, dude. Money match me. I will fight you on it now.
If you want to play Super Smash Bros. Melee with us, we'll all be playing Smash.
Yeah, money match. I'd like to.
Wolf's good. I'm bad. I only play Peach and Downs.
I'm pretty bad too. I play Ganondorf, but I'm taking $20 from Ezreal. So you heard it here first.
Yeah, so, I mean, Nats is a blast, guys. Like, if you're
it's
going,
so much fun.
Have a good time, make the most out of it, go to the side events, go meet new people, explore the city, and come hang out with us, because it will be fun.
Yeah.
Alright, we'll see you guys at US Nationals. Hope you guys enjoy this content, give us your feedback, and yeah, that's it for this one. Peace.
Later, guys.